this week's episode of Picking and Putting. It's our Augusta episode. Heck, we feel like we're doing these every 4 months, but here we are again. There you go. Picking and Putting. I can't ever get that thing right, but there it is. That's our coffee cup.
There it is.
Little swag. I'm here with Liberty Bill from the South Charlotte studios, both in our attics or whatever, but here we go. And it's a pretty day. We wanted to talk about Augusta, and I had a couple shout outs. One, I got my North Carolina reading glasses on because Roy Williams, got to do a shout out to him. He's a lovely gentleman who I know, and what a great career he's had. You know,
Hall of Fame career. He had a Hall of Fame career at Kansas. Then he went and had another Hall of Fame career at North Carolina. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think it's a reflection, like you said, of I'm not sure Coach K, Jim Boeheim, a lot of those guys. It's a different era. You can't bring in. Mark Few's kind of set the tone because he's kind of out there, I guess. But you know, it's changing with the transfer rules and how it's working. So new generations come along. It always happens, and that's a good thing.
Well, I was really impressed with. I didn't watch Roy's press conference, but I read about it. But just the humility and the recognition of him knowing that it was time for him to go. And to your point, what a great time to go, because that sport is going to go through a period of disruption in the next few years that I would not want to have to deal with. And now he can go and do what he wants to do. I heard he already played some golf at Augusta.
Yeah.
So he's great for him. He went off on a high road as far as I'm concerned.
And one of the keys is when the Supreme Court rules, because they will rule against the NCAA. Yeah. And that'll be a watershed moment, both for women's sports in particular, because they'll be able to self-advertise in college. So maybe they can form a brand, like I heard yesterday.
Well, supposedly the women's athletes, based on the data, have some of the strongest engagement on social media. So in theory, they could monetize that the most at the start. So in the end, it'll be great. But for someone like Roy, why would you want to deal? And I think for me, Iowa football, Kirk Ferentz, why do you want to deal with this the next few years when you're already near that retirement? You might as well just go.
Yeah, well, and also it's a part of your life where it's a different stage. He wants to enjoy his grandkids, and he wants to go down that street behind me a few more times. I'd like to do that. Hey, Roy, if you listen to this, take me, will you? But the other shout out I had, particularly to Augusta, because it's coming up this week on Thursday morning, is a shout out to Lee Elder.
Yeah.
Because Lee's going to be one of the honorary starters along with Jack and Mr. Player. So I think that'll be a great moment. Hopefully it's a pretty day. And I think the weather's supposed to be good. So it'll be cool, but cool's relative down there. It could be 60. What the heck?
And Gary Player will be using an Encore golf ball.
Really?
Not one of those tight. No, he's all Encore all the time. You watch, you look at that ball. It's not one of those Titleists or Nikes. That is an Encore golf ball.
There you go. That man's he's on fire. I love Gary. He always makes me want to do another push-up, So I got it. So I got some info here. It's kind of cool. And I've got some tidbits that I'll give it to you as we go down the road. But the music, the song Augusta, which we all hear, the piano, whatever, I'm not saying.
I can hear it now.
You can hear it now. So there are two things that came out of the 80s related to the Masters. And it's Jim Nance's key phrase, and it's the song. And now the song came first, and it was 1981, and this gentleman named Loggins was walking along the 14th fairway with an attorney friend, and he looked around and he saw the azaleas, and he saw the pines waving the trees, and he thought, man. So in his head, he wrote the lyrics, and by the time he got to the house, he had his music. So like in an hour, this guy wrote the song. And he came back later and wrote a second verse. It's got words. In the second verse, he included Ben Hogan and I'm blanking. But anyways, a couple other famous names, golfers in the verse, but whoever sings the words anyway, so it doesn't matter.
True.
But so he took it at that time. He took the song to Frank Chirkanian, who was the producer of the Masters. And he said, well, basically he took it to him and said, could I write a song for you and stuff? And he said, well, yeah. He sat down and said, yeah, go ahead and write this song. So he came back and he presented it to him. He wrote the song and he came back to him and he delivered it to him, and he had recorded it with a 12-string band in Nashville and all this stuff.
Wow.
But it was 1982, and he brought it to Chirkanian, and he goes, this sounds great. I'd love to have met the man in person, but he says, you did good, son. You did real good writing this music. So it's a great quote. And but here's the tip. He was paid $3,000 to write it by, I don't know if it was CBS Sports or Augusta National.
I hope he gets some royalties.
Yeah, he gets 38 years of writing royalties now. So he's doing, or 40, whatever it is, from 1982, 38, I guess. He's doing real well on that point. But here's the other part of the story. So what do you think his first name was?
Kenny.
No, it's Kenny's third cousin, Dave.
Wow.
And I can guarantee you 99.9% of the people would have said Kenny Loggins. And that's what I did. I even looked at it and went, oh yeah, Kenny Loggins. Okay, great. No, it's Dave Loggins. So they were relatives, but you know, whatever the heck.
Well, that family did the Caddyshack theme song, which is the quintessential golf movie of all time, along with the Masters theme song, which is the quintessential golf tournament of all time. I'd say that's good contributions from the Loggins boys.
Well, yeah. Do you think? I mean, those are two. So that and you know, One Shining Moment, both CBS iconic music. And they both came out of the 80s, just crazy. Well, the other one, and you probably read about this week, was Jim Nance. And it was about the same idea. 1986, he had come along, he was going to become the voice of the Masters, and Chirkanian had him down there, and the TV crew couldn't get there. So Chirkanian came to him and said, well, just go out and play. You know, go out and play the course. He goes, I don't have any clubs. I don't have any, how am I going to do that? You know, I can't do that. Well, he went in and he bought him shoes, bought him clubs, bought him clothes, stuck him on the first tee with the group, and off he went. And he was playing really well, and he got to the 13th hole, which is a dogleg par 5, and hit a great drive. And Chirkanian drives up in a golf cart and says, the crew's here, come on. He goes, oh man, I was playing really well. I drove in the fairway, and
he was just getting to the fun part of the course.
I was just getting to the fun part. And he says, you'll have more opportunities, son. Come on. So it was at that time that he came up with, in his head, after having that experience and going with Chirkanian, he came up with a tradition like no other. You know, in that voice of his, the Masters, a tradition like no other. And that stuck. And Chirkanian said, yeah, I like that. Go with that. And, you know, it's right up there with, hey, friends.
Hello, friends.
Yeah. Hello, friends. How you doing? I don't know if he does that for basketball, but I know he does.
Oh, he does. You watch the NCAA championship and the Final Four. He absolutely does.
Okay. Now, I know you're going to want to talk about next week's event and who you picked and all that kind of stuff and that stuff. But,
we haven't made our picks yet.
Oh, you haven't?
We wait
for the Masters.
Yeah, for the Masters, we get our odds on Monday. We'll use Monday's odds, so we don't jump ahead like a lot of other people do.
You know, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, Jordan, if he plays well the rest of the week, he'll jump up in the odds makers view.
Jordan already has the most, not necessarily individual bets, but he has the most money. The most individual bets is Justin Thomas, but the most money is on Jordan Spieth. That shows you there's some heavy hitters that are hitting Spieth.
Hey, I'll tell you, and I just got it. I don't know if it was Golf Digest or one of the magazines came this week, and everybody's going to want to read it. And we all know that, who are older folks. But they showed how Dave Stockton was the key in it, who was a great putter and a guru of teaching for putting. but they wrote how they showed strokes gained putting and who's led the tour and by age. And every year, it's every year going towards 45, it drops. It's always the 26, 27, 20. So you can go back and look at the statistics. Look this magazine article up between 25 and 40-year-olds, and they lose a touch of putting.
Wow.
It's based on it. So the under 30s are the stronger. So if you're using putting and strokes gained and you're betting on Dustin versus Camilo Villegas, or what, he's older too. Let's see, Xander Schauffele. You go with the younger guys because, you know, they got ice water running in their veins. I don't know.
Well, that's been Bryson's key. It's been his putter. It hasn't necessarily been his driver. The brand has been doing it with the putter.
Well, and that's what's fascinating. They studied the statistics. So it's a statistical analysis of putting skills. So you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah, the strokes gained data is absolutely fascinating. And I'm so glad they have it now, like 10 years out.
Okay, so here's another one for you. This is the fun one. I found this, and it was another one of the magazines, and it was out there, but we've all heard these, and these are, so I'm gonna put you on the spot. It's kind of like 5 questions, only I think I got more than that. So we'll go. So these are 9 Augusta myths, okay? So everybody goes every April and goes, well, how do they get all the azaleas to be in full bloom and look so pretty? And it's interesting because living in North Carolina, the azaleas usually bloom about 3 or 4 weeks behind Augusta. It's just enough farther south. So their azaleas you would think would be full bloom by mid-March, but they always first week of April look great. And there were all sorts of rumors that they threw sheets, blankets over them. They put, so the big one was that they would pour ice around the root balls to keep them cold so they wouldn't bloom until they take them off this week. Well, is that true or is that false? What do you think?
I think that's false, but I think they do something.
Well, as far as I know, they say they don't do anything, but Augusta's so closed mouth. But no, they don't do any ice, and you're right. So you got question 1 right.
All right.
Here's another good one. This one, there were hostages taken in the clubhouse at Augusta National by a kind of a crazy guy.
Yes, wanted to speak to Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, you knew that. Okay, good research. Yeah, 1983, Ronald was playing there. This guy came in, nobody got hurt, but he took 5 hostages. So I thought, yeah, okay, here's another one. So at all the land, you know how they just bought land to make 13 longer from Augusta Country Club. They always buy in real estate from Augusta Country Club, I'm sure at a bargain price. But there's one house standing in the parking lot at Augusta National that's never been sold. Do you believe that?
Probably.
It's true. There's a family, Herman and Elizabeth Thacker. Herman's no longer living. He passed away, I think, in 19, but she's still alive. And they own their house. And they have a nephew, Scott Brown, who's a tour player. And
really?
And I've heard of him, but he has not qualified for the Masters.
Yeah.
But if he does, then he'll stay at his grandmother's house.
So there's no pressure by the club or anyone.
No, why should they be? I mean, eventually, if it passes on, I'm sure the kids will sell it on. But.
Well, that's cool though. There's one house left.
Yeah. Okay. Now you've heard this one because I know you have. There's one palm tree on the course. Is that true or false?
True.
Right. And you know why that's important?
I do not know the context on that.
Okay, so it's on the 4th tee, which is a par 3. You can look up the picture, and there's one solo palm tree there to the left. And the deal is, and I heard this on David Fairey interviewing Webb.
Really?
Yeah. So Webb's standing there, and he's playing. He's got a good relationship with his caddy, and he's playing with Bubba, and the caddy's gonna get married, and the deal was, as the story goes, he said to his girlfriend, his fiance, if you can find a palm tree on the golf course, Bubba said this, you know, I'll buy you your engagement ring.
Oh.
Well, so of course, Webb turns and points to the tree, and the girl sees it, and she goes, there it is over there. And Bubba goes, oh man. Well, I'm screwing the story up, I'm sure, if Webb heard this, but the point being is that he won that year. And all of a sudden afterwards at the champions dinner, Bubba goes, oh crap, I gotta buy that lady a wedding engagement ring. And he did. Apparently he bought the ring. So that's kind
awesome.
of a cool story. So it's Paul Tesori is the caddy. So I guess it was his wife. So
speaking of the dinner, I saw Dustin Johnson has pigs in a blanket.
Yeah.
On his dinner.
And lobster rolls. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another one. They have fake bird sounds. True or false?
Ooh. You know, I think they do.
Well, the answer they say is false. Now, CBS Golf Sports was called out on it because some, bird specialist heard the music from Louisville.
That's great.
The birds you got in the background don't live in Kentucky, so
that's
there's
great.
No way that's not true. So, and they admitted to it, but they said no, those are real birds at Augusta. Those are our birds. So that's their story, and they're sticking to it. So I can't go with that one.
That's a fun one. I'm going to be listening closely to that one.
Yeah, okay. Here's another good one. Cattle roamed the grounds of Augusta National.
No.
The answer to that one is yes.
Really?
1942, Bobby Jones allowed cattle to graze the grounds because they needed the land. But here was the problem. The course is overseeded with rye grass, and so in the summertime when the cattle were grazing, it's all dirt because they didn't have any Bermuda. They don't know that they close in the summer. So what happened was the cattle destroyed the azaleas and the bark off the trees because that's all there was to eat. So they did more damage than good. But he was being nice to the surrounding farmers. So I thought that was good.
That's a good one. We're actually having Dr. Bob Jones IV on the show next Saturday. I should have
Really?
the guys ask him about
That's
that.
on the Golf Shop Radio Show, folks. So look it up. It's a good show. Well, I thought that one was good. Oh, here's I got a couple more here. Two more.
Yeah, these are good.
Yeah, well, here's one. Every champion donates a club to the club. Can you name the one champion in the history of the Masters who hasn't given them a club?
Patrick Reed.
Nope. Freddie Couples, 1990.
Really? Did he just forget?
I don't know. I'd love to know the story behind it because you know that sooner or later, now this may be not true anymore, but sooner or later, I'm sure Freddie will give him a club. But I thought they probably came to him in the locker room and say, okay, give us your 2-iron or whatever, because they get clubs out the wazoo. So what do they care? But he was the one that had never given him a club. And lastly, here's the best one. Has there ever been somebody prosecuted for stealing sand from the golf?
Yeah, I heard about that at the time. That was a big deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to have a few of those pimento sandwiches and a few tall favorite beverages and nice green cups in your body to be doing this.
They got enough security. You just can't get away with that.
This was after the playoff in 2012. And I can't remember. That may have been the one where Bubba hit the hook shot. I don't remember. I should have looked that up. But the bottom line is this guy, everybody's walking back up the hill and they'd left. So he snuck on under the ropes on 10 and went down in the sand trap and got a cup of sand. Well, of course, he got put in cuffs, marched out the front gates, and his name is Clayton Baker. So Clayton, if you're out there, kudos to you for trying, man. But his total bills and lawyer fees and everything ended up for, I suppose, criminal trespassing. I don't know what they.
Oh, they probably lit him up. They threw the book at him.
20 grand, 20 grand to get out of that stuff. So, I don't know. That's the end of, those are my stories.
Well, we did that tour at Wrigley Field. I
Yeah.
did that tour with my cousins when we were young. And one of my little brothers, we were the older cousins. So my little brothers, we were always egging them on to do stupid stuff. So they actually stole a brick from the Cubs dugout during that tour.
Huh. I remember taking that tour, and it was with you guys, where we went out and they showed us the visitors' locker room. And at that time, they still had signatures in the locker, like of Babe Ruth or Lou Gehrig. I mean, those kind of tours are really, it was fabulous.
And that was before all the renovations. So that was the old school, original, archaic clubhouse.
Yeah.
It's totally different today.
Well, remember they had that door where they could push rookies out the door, and they were suddenly out on the out in the public walkway in their towel. I thought that was a great story from the old Wrigley. That's still probably there. Well, I got a book. I don't know this man. I don't know anything, but it's called The Masters by David Soul, Sowell. Came out this year, and it's a hole by hole history of America's greatest golf classic. And I will tell you guys, I got this for Christmas and I read it, and it is fun because it takes all 18 holes and the changes through the years, and it tells you the history of all the great shots through the whole history of the Masters that happened on that particular hole.
That's cool.
How it got lost, how it got won, how it, from Sarazen's double eagle to Norman's bailing out right on 18. I mean, it's Arnold Palmer hitting it back and forth across 18 in the sand traps and losing. I mean, it's really an insight. So if you love the Masters, get this book and use it as a religious thing every March and April, because I think you'll enjoy it. I did.
Well, I'm curious what you're most, not necessarily like a pick, but what you're most looking forward to from the tournament next weekend.
I think since we just have it in our minds from November, in honor of Gary, the guy who looks like me with a mustache that they threw off the CBS telecast.
Oh, McCord.
Yeah, and in honor of Gary McCord, I think there's going to be the speed of the greens are going to be akin to bikini wax greens. Because I just bet you after the Masters in November, when everything was so slow, which they had to be because of the time of year and stuff, that course, those greens are gonna be lightning.
And it's funny you say that, because we had the head pro of TPC San Antonio on last week to preview the Texas Open. And he said the PGA told them, make those greens as fast as possible to get these guys ready for the Masters.
Yeah, well, that's usually what they've always done. They've tried to set up the tournament week before. I forget where they've been having it. The last few years, it wasn't Valero. It might have been Memphis, but they would set the course up as close as they could to make the green speeds fast, the rough similar, so that they could draw big names. Because it's hard the week before to draw, Dustin Johnson or Justin Thomas. There were guys,
especially when you have the players a couple of weeks before. It's a lot.
Well, there were guys that always played the week before. Phil does. I have in the mindset, and then Tiger and guys would go down and play at Augusta, all practice for 2 weeks. I've always been in the mindset that I think I'd rather be Scotty Scheffler. Yeah. Now, the only thing I worry, he's playing good again this week, but I worry about somebody like that going in, having played like 4 or 5 weeks in a row rather than just 2 or 3. But let's put it this way. If I was Billy Horschel, I'd keep playing till the wheels fell off.
Yeah, he's hot.
And so that's how you go, and I mean, I would until I missed a cut.
Makes sense to me.
The problem is the scheduling now is so difficult for these guys, and COVID has made that harder, although that's going to open up. So, well, who's your pick?
I'm looking at Bryson. Absolutely. So for our league, we can only we can only use a golfer 4 times the entire season.
Yeah.
So I've already burned John Rahm a couple times because if his wife is giving birth during the Masters, he's out of there. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's a safe pick at all. So I'm going to be looking at the heavy hitters, probably Bryson and DJ, JT, 2 of those 3. And then for the long shots, the way we do it, they have to have odds greater than 10,000 to 1. So I'll have to see what those odds look like before I start looking at the long shots.
Well, and this is what makes the Masters always difficult. You know, you only got 85 guys. And I remember the story of Jack Nicklaus from the 60s. And he said, I could look around the locker room on Thursday and know that I only had 5 or 6 people I had to beat. Because you can take all the amateurs and you can take the previous champions that were 48 and 52 and all those guys. And so that part makes that 10,001 pick a tough pick.
Oh yeah.
I'm like you. My picks, I have a hard time now going against Justin. I think he's in the right place, and of course, it all has to do with who putts well.
Yep. No, but he really is, and he has such different styles that he can attack every hole. He's a great safe pick. He'll make the cut.
He's my pick that way. My heartstring pick would be Webb. I'd love to see him win it. And my historical pick would be Rory. But Rory,
boy, oh.
Yeah, I know, but that's the deal. You take somebody like that, and all of a sudden, boom, the switch turns because he's in Augusta. You know, they drive down this street behind me, and without that piece of gray coat there, they drive down that street, Magnolia Lane, and it's like you've just gone through the pearly gates, and a whole mindset changes about how you play.
Well, that's a good point because Rory's even admitted that he's been chasing the distance from Bryson. So
which is just goofy. I mean, let's face it. Wory's probably, if you take the top 5 golfers in driving capability,
yeah, he's already up there.
I would say the top 3 drivers I've ever seen in the last 5 years are Koepka, DJ, and him.
Yeah.
You know, that's where Jordan, I think it's funny. Jordan said mentally, one of the things I just read a little while ago, Jordan's climbed back into it because he's trying to think like the Duff. Well, think about it. The Duff, Jason Duffner is just this, you know, well, how's life going? Everything's good. Well, you need that. It's kind of like a little bit of Little Red Book. Take dead aim, folks. Forget all the extraneous garbage and just take dead aim. So anyways, that got me off on a whole nother tangent with Harvey Penick. But
and you get a little sneak peek of the course this weekend, the Augusta National Women's Amateur.
That may be the greatest thing they've done so far, besides the pick and putt, which I would love to play in if I was a kid. The pitch and putt on Sunday. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the women's amateur, that's a and 2 years ago when they had the first one and that girl came down the backside and played 5 under the last 6 holes or something.
Jennifer Kupcho, yeah.
I mean, the men were going, holy cow, I'd like to have that next Sunday, because she was just lights out. So yeah, it's exciting to watch, and it's fun to see the women of that caliber playing like that. So yeah, that I look forward to seeing that. I think that's on tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the weather should be good down there. A little cool, but it should be nice. So we'll see. Well, you got any last shout outs you want to play? Promote the Golf Shop Show again.
Oh yeah, Golf Shop Show. We got Masters covered from A to Z, baby. Our guy, we have a local reporter down there in Augusta that's been coming on the show for like a decade. His name is John Boyette. So we'll have him on this week to preview it. And then next week, he'll be out on the course. We'll have Rex Hoggard from the Golf Channel on, and then Dr. Bob Jones IV, who I referenced. But hey, the tour doesn't stop. So we'll also be previewing the event down in Hilton Head, the RBC, next weekend as well. So
I love watching that, because if you ever go down there, I've been down there a few times, and if you want to practice driving to play at Hilton Head, just go out in your hallway and try swinging a driver, because that's pretty much it. So the regular amateur out there, that street behind me, that's a wide fairway at the Heritage. So it's a Pete Dye kill yourself kind of place. But yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a good thing.
I don't know if you saw, South Carolina scored another tournament that got moved because of the Canadian
Oh
Open.
yeah, the Canadian Open's going to be at that. And yeah, new course.
New course. So they're having the PGA at Kiowa. They've got the RBC at Hilton Head. Big month for South Carolina in terms of golf.
Yeah, and going to Kiowa PGA will be a ball as long as you own a helicopter to fly in there. Otherwise, the commute in from Charleston or Savannah is just, you're better off on TV. Sorry, folks, but that's what I think.
So Wes Miller, next UNC coach, with Hubert Davis staying on as an assistant.
Well, yeah, here's a tough call there. I think that they throw out all these names to press. It's going to stay in-house. And my gut call is Bubba Cunningham, who's the athletic director of North Carolina, will take his time.
Who knows what he's doing, by the way.
And
he's
I
a good athletic director.
I think they already know within house. I think, yes, I think Wes Miller would be a good hire. And I've kind of felt that this was his dream job and he's been waiting. The other take is that, Hubert is 50 and he's still a young man. They could give him the head coaching job and not change anything about the bench, Steve Robinson and all those people.
But the only thing I have to say to that is Roy kind of conceded that change is necessary.
Well, yeah, I think, and that's why all of those guys, I think there'll be a change. What the change is not in how they necessarily play the game, although the game has changed because Roy has always been having a great point guard and bigs, pushing the ball up the floor as fast as possible, getting it inside, and that. Now the NBA game's taking it to the 5 guard or the big men, like the example they used that the May kid from Charlotte who hit that shot in the national championship beating Kentucky, that you have to have bigs that can shoot the 3.
Yep, and handle the ball. Yep.
The game's changed that way. So whoever comes in as coach is going to have to evolve towards that. But I think that the attitude is you need some youth for the way the recruiting has changed, because it's just changed. And what I said, that the other hoop in here that's going to change that is the Supreme Court decision, which I think will come down on the side of the student athlete. And when that happens, it'll still take another 2 or 3 years of evolution. But if that kid coming out of high school can sell his face, it'll just change the game. And so maybe it'll evolve back towards where that talent goes right on out to the pros or Europe, and the others go to college. I don't know how that'll take 5 years. But
that makes the most sense.
In my mind right now, I said it's between Hubert and Wes.
And Jerry Stackhouse is interesting, but he's only been at Vanderbilt 2 years, so you don't really know. But I like the NBA connection. I like that.
Yeah, I think Jerry's down because he hasn't shown. Wes Miller, be it at a smaller setup, he's had success.
Yep.
He's had success
with different teams, different styles of play. I mean, he's proven.
Yeah. So, that's the issue, and that's my call. I don't think they're going to go. Everybody puts out, the coach from Villanova and the coach
or Brad Stevens from the Celtics. No, but Wes too could be the coach for the next 30 years, and that seems to be what they want.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why it's a watershed moment, because I think if you watched Indiana and you've watched UCLA, and they've chased the ghost of years past. So, if who they hire is like Coach Doherty and comes in and doesn't have success, and everybody's looking back 4 years from now or 5 years and feeling that way, then you get into that, chasing the next thing. I think the way North Carolina has always functioned in basketballs, it'll be somebody in the downstream brotherhood. That's just how they
It
function.
makes sense.
So we shall see. Well, hey, it was fun. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Look forward to watching this on television, and enjoyed talking with everybody. Remember, we're here every week picking and putting. We're on all the platforms. YouTube is the video, but we're on all the speaking platforms. We enjoyed talking to everybody. Have a good week, Billy.
I'm going to go listen to the Masters music.
Yeah, there you go. And I'll see you next week, man. Have a good one.
Sounds great. All right.